So if you're like me, you're a little bit clumsy and you break your DJI's arm. I've had it probably about a month and it's the second time this thing has been damaged. So I'm gonna try and fix it now. First of all, I think we have to cut all this plastic away because there seems to be no way to get this out. Yeah, let's go. When I damaged this, I looked to see online how much it would cost to repair. 30 euros, not even to repair it, just to send it to Hungary, and then on top of that, I'd have to pay whatever it is to replace the drone, the broken arm. So what I decided to do was, is it possible to repair DJI drones? What I found was that, yeah, you can do it, but you need maybe more advanced skills. You're never going to be able to do it. If this is your first day, you're never going to be able to do what I'm doing. But if you've got some skill, if you've built some FPV drones before, I think you're going to find this a piece of cake, and it can save you a lot of money. Is I went on AliExpress, even got the printing on the side, and I got these for 42 euros. I'll put a little picture in a video that I make. And basically I got all four arms. The one thing I didn't get, and this is something to be careful of, is this little cover here. You'll notice it, it's here, it's this thing. And for some reason, when they sent me the arm, it doesn't have this end piece on it. So I think I'm gonna have to take this off and put it here. But the thing is, it's very, very small, and I haven't been able to successfully get that off. I'm not sure if it's just a skill issue or not. But yeah, 40 euros for a new set of arms. It takes about a week and a half to arrive. And then you can try doing what I'm about to do. So, have fun, guys. So I ran into my first problem. These screws are covered in something. I can't get to my screwdriver. I wonder if it melts. I'll get the little soldering iron. The thing is, I don't care about the plastic because I'm going to replace it. Okay, that's not fun. So I've basically just cut away all the plastic. What I have noticed is this little patch here, that could be very, very cool. If you can strip back this, it looks, to me, it looks like those two wires are soldered in the middle. The reason why this is important, guys, if these wires are broken, you can just resolder them. But the electronic speed controller is right underneath these two sensors. Underneath here, roughly along this line here, it's mounted like this. Now, I've seen people repairing this drone. They want to repair the arm. So what they do is they take out the two nuts here. There's two bolts here. They take out two bolts here, and then they take off this top shell. And inside here is the motherboard with the GPS. The motherboard is like this big. The GPS is about here. And then they peel off all the plastic. And then inside here, about where I'm touching, on the sides here and here, there's plastic. You gotta peel it off like it's looks like sellotape, black electric tape, but very sticky. They peel that off. They take the motherboard out, and then after they've taken the motherboard out, Then you have to take this bottom shell off with these screws. Take the bottom shell off. Get this sensor array off. And everything is covered in glue. Everything is glue, 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 glue. They save space, they save weight by using glue because it weighs less, and you can just use the same adhesive effect to keep things in position. Got to be a bit more clever. If you take out the speed controller, which is here, you take it out and you think you unsolder these 3 wires here. There's 3 wires here. These are the wires for the brushless motor. This extra wire, this white one, that, if you didn't know it already, is for a patch antenna inside this housing. I'll show you later, but in here, there's a patch antenna, and there are 2 of them, one here and one here. So DJI is using like a diversity setup where it's having 2 antennas. This is an electronic speed controller for an FPV drone. Now, what you have for every motor, there are 3 terminals: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you can see them labeled here: M4, M3, M2, and M1. Now, on the DJI, you also have a speed controller pretty similar to this. 3 of them are for here, 3 of them are for here, 3 of them are for here, and 3 of them are for here. So if you want to unhook this wire from here, you have to take the top shell off, the bottom shell off, unhook all the gluey stuff in here, take off the motherboard, take out the sensor array, and then you've got the ESC underneath it, and everything's covered in sticky tape and glue. You are not going to put that back together in a decent way. You're going to make a mess. But since my only problem is this plastic thing on the arm, I think it's better. I get this plastic off here. I get this antenna out. I somehow try to save this plastic piece here. These screws are covered in some kind of ceramic. I've tried to melt it unsuccessfully. I will use some mole grips and a little bit of the old brute force to get those out. Those are simply what look like either M2 or M3 screws. But from Amazon, you can get these screws. And you can see these are normally M1.2 to M2.4 to M2. But you can also get other sizes. These are M3. And look how many you get. You get literally hundreds of them. You know how much this cost? €7. Look at this. All these screws. You know how much this cost? €5. They're all the same. DJI isn't some magic company using some magic super duper technology that you don't have access to. This stuff is the same stuff you put in your FPV drones. So in here, it's more sophisticated, sure. You can never rebuild this in the same way they do at the factory. Just get in here, unsolder the wire, put a new arm on, pass through the wires, pass them through the shell, through here, and solder them back on. Boom. Done. Think smart. I hope that comment doesn't bite me in the ass later. Okay, so first problem is that this little piece here, the one I wanted to save, looks like it's glued on and I can't get it out. One thing I've realized is that getting that out, I've chipped this PCB board and it's just above the trace. If you can see it, there's like a line and it goes to here and then along. I've just clipped it. I don't think I've broke it. But yeah, when you're trying to get this out, be careful you don't accidentally chew the sides of this. I have fucked around with antennas before and I didn't have one that broke because I damaged the PCB. Your mileage may vary. But I'm pretty sure that if you wanted to, you could just buy these patch antennas from Amazon or AliExpress as well. So if you really notice that you can't fly very far anymore, and you used to do 15 kilometers and now you can only do 5, get a replacement for that. And now you can see that I've got the motor out. Make sure you don't touch these golden wires. The last thing you want is go snippy, and then accidentally cut something you didn't want to do. But if you cut these wires or damage these wires in any way, you need a new motor, and then you have more problems. So take care of that. So yeah, after I was able to get the plastic off, those screws were not in very hard. But now you can see I have the antenna and the motor exposed. And now I'm going to take this arm off so I can start replacing it. There's a screw here. Get this out. Come on. And then there's one on the bottom too. And then it just slips off. And then that's it. You can see all the wires. They're covered in a sheath. This, I guess, stops wear and tear when you're rotating. So I think I have to cut this off as well. So what I think I have to do is I have to take the top shell off. And I think on this side, you have all the antenna connections onto the motherboard. One of them is for our little friend here. If I unplug that, I can pass the cable through and out. And then I can feed the wire. Let's assume this wire is the antenna wire. I can feed the wire back through the hole, get it out the other side. And then once it's through the hole, I can pass it back into the drone body. And then when the case is off, I can pull it up and then I can reattach it onto the motherboard. And then that means I don't have to touch this cable. That's my idea so far. Okay, so now I got the shell off. So it looks like it goes in and it curls around here. And then it looks like it comes up through the bottom. It doesn't look like it goes straight from here to here. It looks like it goes up and then down here. And these are the antennas. Here's all the antennas that are connected via these UFL connectors. I have to go also through the bottom. So let's go. So I can see the motor wires here. It comes out there. It comes out there and goes to this one. I'm pretty sure it's this one. So I will have to take this off, but I'll also have to take this off. I think it's these 3 screws. Awkwardly, I have no idea why, but DJI has decided, oh, we're just going to put this in front of one of the screws. It's like, why you do that? I mean, there's no reason to go across that screw. DJI have done that deliberately, just to fuck around with people. No, they've got to do this. They're doing this for anti-competitive practices, to stop people from easily repairing their devices. This is not necessary. This is spiteful. So you can tell the kind of company we're dealing with here. This thing here, this board, this one, that's the ESC. And you can see down here, there are solder joints here covered in plastic, and solder joints there covered in plastic. If you want, you can take out those 3 screws and then it should come out. The problem is, can you see here? Can you see there? There's 2 globs of glue there and there. If I can show you, you can see it's like a little cable, like it's at a right angle, and then it goes down the side. This thing here, you would need to unplug that and then you can get this out. And that looks like, it looks like there's a cable that goes down the side of the body and then up to the motherboard, which would make sense because then there are attachments here on the motherboard. If you want to take the ESC out, you'll have to take those screws out, then you'll have to take that off, and then you'll have to take this out, melt the plastic off these, resolder the cables, and then put it back. Maybe it's too much work. The one thing, you can always do that. There's nothing that stops you from taking these things apart. The problem is, can you put it back together again? And can you be assured that when you put it back together, it's going to be the same kind of quality as you had before? You know, because if it's not, then you're just going to ruin your drone. And at the end, you're not going to have any benefit. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to see in here if these cables are in fact soldered together. Yeah, look, it's just soldered together. I will have to put this back on later, so later in the video you'll be able to see what I do. But you can see it's just 2 wires spliced together. So that means we can resolder these wires after we feed it through the body. We can feed these wires through the hole, and then when we're here, we just resolder them. We just clip it and resolder them. Electronics are really easy like that, man. Get into here and then find out which of these antenna this one attaches to. So let's get to it. But as I took off the heat plate, I uncovered all of these. So it turns out that that antenna here is connected to this one. I managed to wiggle the cable enough that I could see on the other side where it was wiggling, and it was wiggling just down here, and it's connecting to this one. It's hooked into here, and this plastic wrapped section of cable, I can't pull it out any more than it already is. It seems to be, so I can straighten it out. It looks like it's all twisted and then it's stuffed. It's stuffed down there. But if you pull it out, there's quite a lot of cable actually. Now if I pull this cable through, now this cable here has to come out because you can't damage this antenna cable and expect it to work afterwards. So unlike motor wires. Motor wires, you can cut them, resolder them, and put them with shrink wrap, and then boom, back to normal. However, because of antennas, they have a shielded and unshielded part. If you were to cut through that, the shielded part would touch the external part which is creating the shielding. So cutting through it would just literally ruin the antenna. You would never be able to replace this. It'd be dead. But one thing I've realized is that actually this patch antenna looks like it's very replaceable. I mean, you could just, I'm going to cut down here, get this cable out, and then I'm going to shrink wrap this back again, and we should be back in business. And that's quite nice. So we'll go through that, and then we'll see where we get to next. All right, let's do it. So yeah, I managed to get the antenna into here, feed it under here, feed it through there, and then eventually this will go back into here. But I've realized a problem in that I spent time to strip off this plastic wrap that's here on these 3 wires. But then I realized that if I mount this motor to here, the solder points are halfway down and I will never be able to solder it again. So what I need to do is coat these with plastic wrap again, and I will need to clip them here instead and do another solder point here where I can connect it back there. Because this, I should have thought of that. This is not possible. So, okay, let's go and do that. This stuff, liquid rubber. And what you do, normally I use the back of a set of tweezers just to get it, just to stop it from being, the top always needs a little bit of a mix. This is a waterproof, electric proof coating that won't easily get eroded away. And what I do is I get some here. Once you put it on, you kind of got to move it around a little bit to stop it getting stuck to itself. But you can coat each part of the wire with a different, you can just mix it around and get it so it's nice and thick. You want to have 3 individual wires. You don't want them to have touching together. But what you can do is you can grab it from here. It's like a glue. And it does take about an hour to set, but then once you set it, it's flexible and you can use it to coat things which pass through electricity. So this is effectively something you can use to get around the fact that sometimes you need a flexible coating, but you don't want to use shrink wraps or heat shrinks. It's sometimes a little bit fiddly. It drips off, so a good idea is to grab it from the bottom and then use the same set of tweezers to put it on the top, and then eventually it gets thick and gloopy. Now you're going to have to leave it for about, I don't know, 20 minutes. Once it's hardened, you can move it around a little bit. So because of the problem with the original screws, I have to find alternative screws. And I've got this big set of Amazon screws from so long ago. But what I'll do is I'll use a little bit of Loctite. However, I've had really bad experience with Loctite in that you can put the screw in, but then you can't get the screw out. Then you've got to mess around trying to get a screw out which is stuck in with Loctite. I know that you can use a soldering iron to melt it. The thing is, with it being plastic, if you try to melt the Loctite, you're going to melt the plastic. And that just means that it's not really that easy to fix. So I managed to find 3 screws out of here. I've also got everyone's got one of these, right? And I managed to find 3. So this is the new arm. However, this piece, I could never get it back. I couldn't take it off the other one. I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to do here. Anyway, now what I've got to do is cut these 3 wires, tin them up, and then put it back onto the drone. And then I should have a good time putting everything together. It's actually working out pretty good. Anyway, let's go. So in order to get this in here, but then to put shrink wrap back on this cable, what I'm going to do, because I think that when you rotate the arm one way and the other, it's going to cause wear and tear on the arm here. So I got this shrink wraps long time ago. Can I get this in here? Can I put these cables through as well? Doesn't look like it's thick enough either. Oh yeah, just about. So I'm going to cut it in half. I need it to cover all of these cables together. So this needs to go through first, and then this goes through after. Okay, cool. And as it comes through, I'm going to grab it and pull it through. So here you go. Oh, shit. I forgot to put it through here. Okay, so we just undo all this work and then we do it again. So you put it like that. Okay, so you can basically figure out which hole you need to go through. So you see here, there's like a little winglet. I don't know if you can see it, but that looks like this thing, but for the opposite way. When it rotates, it's going to rotate down like that. The cables are coming through here. They're rotating around this side of the axis here. You don't want to get the cables up on the wrong side of the post. They have to always stay this side. You must go through this one here. The reason it gets a bit tricky is the length of these wires is not really very long. But the problem is the amount of wire you get here is not really great. You've got to stick the shrink wrap. So the shrink wrap goes around, well, it basically goes in here. Because you can pull this cable back through. Because you've got a little bit of cable here as well. You solder those together, and then you pull it. So that this effectively, so this goes on in this way, just like that. So you've got to solder them together, but at the same time put a heat shrink so that when you pull this cable in, because remember there are some loose cables here, when you pull this cable in, you have this moves up here into the joint, so that when it rotates on the plastic, not on the cable. So I'm going to need to have a little bit of a think about this, because that looks a bit difficult. Okay, let me think about it. Okay, so the answer was staring me in the face. We put the sleeve over the cable and we push it all the way up as far as we can go, even into the body. And then we have a big long cable here. Then we're going to get these 3 cables and these 3 cables and solder the identical color to each of them. So now I've been able to put the wires together after soldering them, and I've covered them in a bit of sticky black electric tape, liquid electric tape. Oops, I got some there. The good thing about this stuff is that if it gets on it, it just dries and then it rubs off. Now I'm going to put this back through the arm, through the shielding, into the body, and then put the arm back together. So let's go and do that. So in order to check that this motor is working without mounting and making everything permanent, hooked up the GPS again. I've kind of positioned the drone so it's kind of level. These can spin freely, but it might be a little bit unhappy, but we're going to see. If the motor spins when we turn it on, then we can immediately turn it off and then just make everything final and put everything back together. Anyway, so let's see. There you go. Amazing. Working just as normal. Now you see we can put everything back together and then we can make everything permanent. The new arm is installed. This part is not glued yet. I think I have to put glue down here, slide it on. Yeah, get glue down there and squidge it around a bit. The antenna is fixed back and it's got enough slack. It's all fitted down the side. I'm going to test it again. Wait for it to connect to the controller. RC signal is strong. And there you go. Now the motherboard is not been removed, so I don't need to worry about the black tape that goes down the side of this and down here. All of this is now untouched. So apart from some little jiggling around of components, I actually managed to replace the arm, but without damaging or changing anything in the drone, which is great. So, there you go. Doesn't seem to have any problems. Flies okay. It's not exactly I mean, it does oscillate slightly, but I'm not sure if that oscillation is just normal. I mean, I fly FPV drones and I always have oscillations anyway, but it's not drifting off course or doing anything wild. So it looks like that's it. Now you know how to repair your DJI drone if it breaks an arm. I guess it will never be perfect, but it looks pretty perfect to me. So I'm going to leave it there. Alright guys, good luck. As you can see, the drone flies really great. Has no problems. Didn't have any issues with battery or motor. Don't be scared of DJI telling you that their service is going to be guaranteeing that your drone doesn't fall out the sky. They can't guarantee that. It's impossible. The repair is actually quite easy. I hope I never have to repair the drone again. Most of the time I've been posting on Instagram, but you know, someone told me that YouTube is where all the cool kids are, so I guess I'll just have to join you guys here. I hope you enjoyed the video and it helps you repair your drone. And remember guys, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Stop crashing your drone, you fucking muppet. Please crash and subscribe. I'll crash you later.